Please welcome the President of Central Coast Minority Enterprise Resource Affiliates, Byron K. Ward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CCMERA's first Economic Development Summit. We're so pleased that you've all joined us this morning. I'm so excited because we have a tremendous group of professionals that have so much to share in the broad area of economic development. We appreciate the fact that we have such great collaborators and supporters within the Tri-Counties region. And this event is a opportunity for CCMERA to work with our small business community and other community members, partners, to usher in a consciousness of economic development. The purpose of this forum is intended to place economic development on the radar of our Black communities. The session will end with a call to action for everyone who is interested in taking the next step toward crafting a comprehensive and collective economic development initiative that will create pathways to greater prosperity and legacy wealth for our community. Before we get started in our program, I want to acknowledge the contributions of some individuals that have made this event possible. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Michelle Johnson, MJ, she goes by. She is the producer of this virtual event. She's a consummate professional, and she's going to see that our session today is recorded, and those who miss the program live will be able to catch the replay. Thanks to MJ, and also I want to acknowledge a person who couldn't be here, and that's Rhonda Jackson, who unfortunately had a loss close to her family. And so we want to send our prayers and blessings out to Rhonda and her family. She has put me in the position to be your moderator for the day. I'm not as entertaining as she is, but I'll try to do my best. Also, kudos to the CCMERA team and to Doctors Sherman and Andrzejewski of the economic of the business school at CSU's Channel Islands. That's the Martin V. Smith Business, Martin V. Smith School of Business and Economics. And also thanks to Erica Ayala for moderating our chat this morning. Every time you start naming names, you have to be careful of leaving someone out, but I just want to acknowledge that off the top, as well as our sponsors, which you'll get a chance to hear from them. So I hope you're inspired this morning, and I know you'll be educated. So without that, going forward, we'd like is Bishop Hayes on the call? Okay. Then we'll go right along with a welcome from Dr. Richard Yao, the president of California State University, Channel Islands.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Yao. I'm the president here at Cal State Channel Islands, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural Economic Development Summit. And we're so proud to co-sponsor this event alongside Byron Ward and the California Central Coast Minority Economic Resources Association. And I have to start out by extending my sincere gratitude to all those who have made this event possible, including our Martin V. Smith School of Business and Economics and our dedicated faculty and staff. And I also want to recognize and thank our keynote speakers, Dr. Irene Pinkard and the president of Operation Hope, Lance Triggs, for sharing their insights with us today. And a special shout out to our roundtable facilitator, Dr. Angela Timmons, and all of our esteemed panelists. And as many of you know, here at Channel Islands, we recognize that actively engaging with our business community is essential to facilitating a thriving environment where everyone can flourish. And in doing so, we also enhance the educational experience for our students and contribute to the social and economic development and wellness of our region. But perhaps most importantly, it's these partnerships that help ensure that our academic programs and associated curricula align with the real world needs for our Black business owners and entrepreneurs. And we have a solid foundation to build upon. Last year, CI Solutions team completed a strategic plan with the Community Advocacy Coalition, where one of our alumni, William Leonard, served as the account manager for the project during his studies. And CI Solutions has also collaborated with several Black-owned businesses and nonprofits, including Oofball, a fitness equipment company, the Juneteenth Committee of Ventura County, And Dr. Timmons also collaborated with CI Solutions on a minimum viable product project for her organization, Healing Vibrations. And through our university's employer database, we actively post opportunities for Black-owned businesses, such as Destined Horizons Mental Health Practice. And we're eager to partner with more Black-owned businesses and nonprofit organizations to create that robust pipeline of talent from CSU Channel Islands. And more broadly speaking, MVS School of Business Economics is also part of a group of CSU business schools who are working with the PhD project to enhance inclusivity in business education and the workplace. And we are exploring ways to encourage doctoral candidates involved in the PhD project to seek faculty positions within the CSU system, while also developing intercampus partnerships to support faculty during their pre-tenure years. And I know you have a jam-packed and very busy agenda. So in closing, thanks again to CCMERA for being such a great champion and for connecting and supporting us. Your commitment to uplifting our community, fostering collaboration has been invaluable. And we are truly grateful for your partnership and our shared mission. So thank you all for being here today. I wish I could be with all of you, but enjoy the rest of the summit and have a great day. Thanks again.
Okay, a great word there from Dr. Yao there. The university, I like to say that they definitely walk the talk in terms of their outreach to the community, and we definitely appreciate their efforts. I am wondering if Bishop Hayes. I know he's trying to get in, so I'll stretch a little bit and take the opportunity to let's see. I think we've got a minute before we're able to bring up Lance Triggs for our keynote address for the event today. And okay, I don't see Bishop Hayes, unfortunately. We'll allow him to come in once he's able to log on. But in the meantime, it's my esteemed pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker to kick off this Economic Development Summit. Mr. Lance Triggs is Senior Executive Vice President and President of Operation Programs at Operation Hope, which is a national, actually international nonprofit dedicated to financial literacy. He is also the architect of 1 million Black businesses, and I'm sure he'll comment about that. And CCMERA is fortunate to be a partner with Operation Hope in the 1MBB initiative. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to some and present to others, Mr. Lance Triggs, coming to us from Atlanta.
Well, thank you, Byron, for the wonderful introduction. I want to start by thanking Byron and all the organizers tied to this economic summit for hosting this great event and their commitment to serve Black businesses and community members in the tri-counties of Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. Your commitment is huge to the success of Black businesses and those communities. We're really, I look at the times we're living in as something that is a sense of urgency. We're living in the urgency of now. And the reason that I say that, the time that we're living in a moment of history that requires urgency, is the fact that on one hand, 70% of Americans in our country are under some form of financial stress. Some are living paycheck to paycheck. Artificial intelligence will soon by 2030 have a impact, 30% impact on jobs and the livelihoods of people in this country. And then by the year 2050, the net worth of African Americans may be zero. So we can no longer be complacent or casual concerning the times we live in when it comes to economic empowerment for people of color and generational wealth. It really is a time, while I love all of our PhDs that are out there, but it's a time for our PhDs in terms of rolling up our sleeves and getting the work done. And so during my discussion with you all this morning, I'm going to kind of take us back on a little history lesson on Reconstruction, talk number 2 about the impact of Operation Hope, number 3, some of the initiatives of Operation Hope that impact Black businesses in the United States, and then lastly, talk about strategies to achieve financial success and mastering strategies for accessing capital, managing finances, and building wealth. In terms of the history lesson, and some of what I'm going to say is familiar with many of you. In my opinion, the United States has undergone 3 Reconstruction periods. Reconstruction period number 1 was right after the Civil War, 1865 to 1877. Reconstruction period number 2 was the Civil Rights Movement, 1955 to 1968. And then lastly, the 3rd Reconstruction, what I call is the time we're living in now, starting from 2020 to 2030. And why re-looking at Reconstruction periods over the last 100+ years is because it's so important to know our past to understand where we currently sit in current state, but where we're going to go in the future. And with every Reconstruction period, there was a reaction to that. Reconstruction to provide access, inclusion, and equality for all. There was a reaction to that. And so when you look at the first Reconstruction period, as I mentioned, from 1865 to 1877, it was a transformative period after the Civil War. And it was an opportunity to help this country, this nation, to rebuild the southern states, but also integrate formerly enslaved African Americans in society. And so this period marked the significant legal and political and social changes that will shape the history of this country. We know that then President Abraham Lincoln had a plan, a 10% plan, which included providing former African-American slaves with 40 acres and a mule. There was the establishment of the Freedmen's Bureau. There was the congressional reconstruction by adding African Americans to the seat of Congress and the Senate. And there were a number of amendments that were issued, the 14th Amendment and 15th Amendment. But then President Lincoln was assassinated. And then from there, the Reconstruction movement came to a halt. There was economic hardships. The promises that were made tied to Lincoln's 10-point plan were no longer provided. And then there was the increasing unrest in terms of the development of Jim Crow and other things that impeded the struggle of equality and justice. But then fast forward to the second Reconstruction, 1955 to 1968, the Civil Rights Movement, starting with the Montgomery bus boycott that was led by Dr. Martin Luther King. And during the 50s and 60s, there was a lot of achievements that did occur to address ending or dismantling systemic racism and segregation throughout the country. A lot of positive impacts with the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Acts were just a few achievements. and then increasing representation in government, where African Americans and other minorities were able to participate in politics. But then there was also the empowerment through education and employment. And then it also inspired other social movements like women's rights movement, LGBTQ rights movements, disability rights movements as well. And then changing the attitudes towards race also. And then the growth of Black pride and cultural expression were some of the things. But just like in the first Reconstruction, with some of the goals to achieve equality and inclusion, there was a reaction. And we know in the second Reconstruction, there was a reaction, political opposition and resistance. There was opposition to the civil rights movement. There was the increasing of the white supremacy and KKK groups and church bombings and murders. And then there was job losses and economic retaliation. And for many African Americans and supporters, there was, systemic racism that was provided. And so there was this reaction to try to halt the progress. Now, fast forward to the third Reconstruction, as I speak of it out today, starting in 2020. There were some gains in the African American and other minority communities when it comes to small business, ownership of real estate, and so on and so forth. A lot of great organizations were providing financial literacy and programs to help uplift African American and minority communities. But yet, a resistance could be on the horizon over the next 5 to 6 years. And so I point out these Reconstruction periods so that we understand how can we learn from some of the lessons in the past, and what can we do during this third Reconstruction, which I think is a pivotal 10-year period where organizations, community organizations, the private sector, the public sector can truly come together and collaborate to ensure that what we call at Operation Hope, inclusive economics, access for all will benefit all. And so how does Operation Hope play in that role today? Well, Operation Hope was started going on its 33rd year. We were started in April 29th, what was then known as the Rodney King riots or the LA civil unrest. And we formed Operation Hope as a response to the riots. And one of the reasons that Operation Hope came into existence was a data point of the time. There was 3,000 buildings and structures that were either damaged or destroyed. But the one data point that caught the eye of our founder, chairman, and CEO, John Hope Bryant, was that not one was a home. And why is that? Well, people don't burn what they own. And so Operation Hope was created as a way to provide financial literacy, financial well-being to individuals and businesses to become stakeholders in these communities, to own the real estate in these communities, to own the businesses in these communities. And so over the past 32 and a half years, Operation Hope has served over 4.5 million people. Operation Hope, through our financial partners, have lent over $3 billion in capital to help people own real estate and also for businesses. And then Operation Hope has been successful in terms of improving the credit scores of individuals and businesses throughout that time. And while I'll pause here for a second to emphasize the importance of credit, we have a credit score program called 700 Credit Score Communities, because we recognize that accessing capital requires African Americans and other minority groups to have strong credit in order to access capital, to have favorable interest rates, so on and so forth, and then to have savings. Over 55% of African Americans in this country has a subprime credit score, which is preventing them from accessing capital or having favorable interest rates. And so at Operation Hope, through our financial coaches, we're able to improve credit scores on average of 42 points within 6 months, increase savings averages within 6 months by over $1,500, and reduce debt by $1,900, all within a 6-month period to help consumers and business owners get to that point in their financial well-being where their financial profiles are strengthened and they can access capital to accomplish their dreams. And then there's the credit score index, where we track by every zip code in every county the importance of credit scores, where we're able to take a zip code in one community and then map it or compare it to a community, a zip code maybe 5-10 miles from each other, and the impacts are great or very interesting when you look at a credit score community that's subprime versus a credit score community that has an average of 700 credit score of their residents and businesses. And the huge impact, number one, is in home ownership, small business ownership, as well as life expectancy. Life expectancy, home ownership, public safety are all lower in communities with some prime credit scores compared to communities that have credit scores of 700 or higher. And so Operation Hope's mission is to provide the resources and the education and coaching to create subprime credit score communities to 700 credit score communities so that they are equal to other communities that are within 5 to 10 mile radius from each other. Now, in terms of some of the initiatives of Operation Hope, there are several that are having an impact in the small business community, but to consumers across the country. The first initiative is the Financial Literacy for All initiative, whose founding members are impressive. You have the CEO of Walmart, Disney, the NFL, the NBA, Delta Airlines, PayPal, just to name a few, who have on board to, from a policy standpoint, working with Operation Hope to ensure that financial literacy and its in the financial literacy curriculum is mandatory in the school system, K through 12, colleges and universities, in every workplace, and in every community. Because we feel that financial literacy is significant in terms of providing information and knowledge to help consumers and businesses make smarter business decisions when it comes to accessing capital, managing their money, creating wealth for themselves and the next generation, and making this as a mandatory requirement in all these areas we feel can break the cycle of financial illiteracy that we continue to see happening, especially with our college students. The next initiative is our Hope Inside initiative, which currently we are in 300 locations, supporting it directly 50 states with our program. And so when you look at the Hope Inside umbrella, you have Hope Inside Youth, where we're working in school districts providing child savings accounts for kindergartners. And for every year, we will put $100 that could be matched by the private sector in every bank account from kindergarten age until they graduate, and then teaching those kids and their parents about financial literacy and entrepreneurship. The second pillar of Hope Inside is Hope Inside the Workplace, where we have financial coaches on site of workplace environments, teaching the employees about financial literacy, financial well-being, all to help prove their financial profile. And so we are the financial well-being provider for all 90,000 of Delta employees, UPS, a number of municipalities and their employees across the country, just to name a few. And then there's the Hope Inside Disaster Program, where we partner with FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, SBA, and American Red Cross, where we have a team of people around the U.S. that are teaching disaster preparation, education, but are also responding in part of the recovery efforts of all disasters. And being in California, and me being from California, born and raised, We know that disasters loom as a concerning issue for the residents and businesses in the state, whether it's fires, whether it's floods, and then there's always the potential of earthquakes. And so Hope Inside Disaster is there to provide that support and for businesses in the time of need. And then you have Hope Inside Community, where we have coaches inside bank branches, faith-based organizations, and community centers, providing financial well-being in the areas of credit, money management, home ownership, small business, and entrepreneurship. And so we're very proud of the impact that we're having in those areas. On average, we're supporting 100,000 clients per year and growing with that initiative. Lastly, which really applies to the summit tied to small businesses, and Byron alluded to it earlier, and that's the 1 Million Black Business Initiative, where we initiated this initiative October of 2020 as a call to action to help create and support existing Black-owned businesses over a 10-year period with the goal of targeting 1 million Black-owned businesses. Now, why is that significant? Well, when you look at the entire small business landscape of the United States, there's, I believe, a little over 33 million small businesses in the U.S. Of the 33 million small businesses in the U.S., less than 10% are Black-owned. 3.1 million are Black-owned. Of the 3.1 million Black-owned businesses, only 3% are job creators. 97% of Black-owned businesses are not job creators, and many are barely surviving and not thriving. And so when Operation Hope created the 1 Million Black Business Initiative as a call to action to create more Black-owned businesses and provide resources that can help support existing Black-owned businesses so that they can go from surviving to thriving, that was the purpose of being able to do that. And so I'm proud to say, as of today, over 462,000 Black-owned businesses are being supported through the 1 Million Black Business Initiative. We also have coalition partners made up of public, private, and community sector organizations and companies that are pledged to support another 124,000 Black-owned businesses over the next 10 years. And then also proud of the fact that we have, through our financial partners, have provided over $50 million in small business lending to Black-owned businesses, whether that's through traditional loan programs, CDFIs, venture capital investors, so on and so forth. And then with that, there are Hope Scholarships program valued at $25,000 in program services at no cost to Black-owned businesses. We have issued a total of $7.5 billion in scholarships to Black-owned businesses to receive these resources for free. And so those resources consist of the following. Number one, through our partnership with Shopify, who has made a commitment of $130 million over 10 years to provide access to their e-commerce platform. Right now, we have a 120-day free trial that allows Black-owned businesses to take advantage of that. Starting next year, we're going to extend that offer to include $1 per month for 6 months for Black-owned businesses. This allows Black-owned businesses to look at non-traditional ways to establish a way to go to market through establishing e-commerce stores. And I can tell you that of that 462,000 I mentioned, over 400,000 Black-owned businesses are tapping into that resource. The second resource that's available is through our financial coaching network. As I mentioned earlier, we have 300 coaches throughout the United States that are providing technical assistance, small business, 8-week training programs, and one-on-one coaching to help improve personal finance areas like credit, debt, and savings. The third area is mentorship, where we have a mentorship program called Hope Corps, where we have industry professionals from all walks of life that are providing free mentoring to Black-owned businesses on an individual basis in many categories like legal, accounting, finance, technology, so on and so forth. Then the fourth and last is access to capital, as I mentioned earlier, and the fact that we're proud through our partners that we've already lent over $50 million in lending to Black-owned businesses. And so all of these resources are available to Black-owned businesses in the Tri-County locations in California. And we encourage at a value of $25,000 per business to take advantage of it. So lastly, strategies to achieve financial success and mastering strategies for accessing capital and managing finances and building wealth. Well, to achieve these things is very essential. And so there's several areas that I want to share with you in terms of what we all should be considering if we want to achieve these types of successes when it comes to financial success and accessing capital. Number one, accessing capital, which we know is very critical to the lifeblood of any business. And there's several areas that Black-owned businesses can tap into to access capital. You know, you have the traditional approach of business loans, which can be done through financial institutions to achieve capital. And then there's also government programs like the SBA, who also offer programs at lower interest rates. The second area is alternative financing or alternative financing, like peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding, and other online funding platforms that can assist Black-owned businesses that provide more flexible requirements. Then you have angel investors and venture capital. If you're looking to scale your business model, this is where angel investors and venture capitalists might be very interested. And then, believe it or not, there's grants and competitions that are out there for businesses to tap into locally, nationally, and industry-specific grants. And Operation Hope can help you in these areas. And then the personal savings, which I talked about earlier, where our financial coaches can help business owners and consumers with establishing a solid foundation with their personal finances, credit, debt, and savings, so they can access capital as well. And then the second piece is managing your finances. And again, this is an area that Operation Hope and our financial coaches can support you in with budgeting, cash flow management, debt management, and creating an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expense cushion, which unfortunately 70 to 80% of people of color do not have for any kind of emergency. And then there's the building wealth, the last one, investing. You know, I'm not a financial planner or licensed, so I won't say I'm an expert, but I am a participant. So whether that's investing in diversified assets like stocks and bonds and real estate, and then there's retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs. And then there's real estate, which is something I am familiar with. You know, I became a real estate investor dating back in, I'm telling my age now, dating back to the 80s. And then there's passive income streams and financial education to help prepare us with the information and knowledge to make the right decisions moving forward. So in closing, achieving financial success is a journey. It's a journey that requires dedication, discipline, and vision. And at Operation Hope, we always tell people, look at if we made decisions, bad decisions in the past, or if we're having personal financial issues with our credit scores and things of that nature, look at today as a new day to start. And because many of us at Operation Hope have been there, and we can share stories that help encourage you to stay on this journey or start this journey with our help. And so by mastering these strategies and accessing capital and managing your finances and building wealth, you're empowering yourself to create an abundant future for yourself and your family. So remember, each step you take brings you closer to financial freedom, working because you want to and not because you have to. because I'm a firm believer that 10% is what life does to you, but 90% is how you respond. And it's all about the response. So embrace the challenges as opportunities to grow. I encourage you to make informed decisions with confidence. Stay focused on your long-term goals, because success isn't just about accumulating wealth. It's about building a life of stability, independence, and the freedom to pursue your passions and protect your assets. And so start today, stay committed, and watch your financial dreams become a reality. And so thank you again, Byron, and the summit organizers for allowing me to speak to you this morning. And Operation Hope stands ready to be of assistance to support you on your financial well-being journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lance. Give you applause there for that. That was a powerful message, no doubt. And it's also inspiration to us here on the Central Coast to get busy. As I mentioned earlier, CCMERA is so excited to be a partner in the 1 Million Black Businesses Initiative. And this is a good opportunity for a commercial to navigate to the CCMERA website, or you can go directly to the Operation Hope website, which is operationhope.com. CCMERA's website is CCMERA.com. We have committed to bringing in 90 new businesses here from the Central Coast as a partner in the 1 Million Black Businesses Initiative. And all those of you that own businesses that are on this call, we welcome you to sign up now, put in the code CCMERA, and join us in this exciting pursuit to contribute significantly to economic prosperity for people of color, as well as the community at large in the Tri-Counties. So thanks again, Lance. That's so powerful. We have an opportunity to request questions from those of you on the call. On the call now, Erica is standing by to manage that process. And if you have a question, just state it in the chat. We'll bring it up, and Lance will respond. We've got about 15 minutes that we can take advantage of Lance's expertise.
And Byron, while we're waiting, if there are questions, again, I want to commend CCMERA for their participation as a 1MBB coalition partner. I mentioned earlier that these Coalition of the Willing are community, public and private sector organizations that are all coming together to support Black-owned businesses in their local ecosystem, but not doing it in such a silo, but doing it as a collaborative. I do not state that Operation Hope is the panacea or the ones riding on the white horse is going to be able to resolve all of the challenges and issues of Black-owned businesses. But we do feel that through collaboration with organizations like CCMERA and other like-minded organizations, we're able to provide the resources, the ones that they're providing and doing a great job directly, those organizations, layered with the Operation Hope resources through the scholarship program. We feel we can accelerate the well-being of small businesses in the communities across the country. And that means increasing the small businesses that are started, helping to support and strengthen the infrastructure of existing businesses, helping them go from being a sole proprietor to a job creator, and then to be thriving, growing, and scaling. So we're very excited about CCMERA being a partner and working with us over the next several years.
We're excited as well. Erica, do we have questions?
Yes. Thank you so much, Lance, for just that great background and the storytelling connected to it to really get our buy-in and connection with the work that you do and the impact. We see the questions coming in. And one of the really powerful questions that came in were, what are the main things that a small business owner can do to prepare themselves for the coming administration and the next 4 years?
Excellent question, Erica. I would say first, do a forensic analysis on your business. Where is your business now in terms of cash flow management, sales, revenue, and infrastructure? We have found that a lot of businesses have a great product that they're going to market, but they don't have the infrastructure. And then typically within 2 years, they're out of business. So I would say step one, do the forensic analysis of your business now. And then identify, number two, the areas where you feel your business is lacking or need additional support. Once you identify those areas, then number three, connect with resources, whether that's Operation Hope or others. There's so many fantastic organizations supporting small business in the Tri-County area, but who can address your areas that may be viewed as opportunities or weaknesses to strengthen you in the best way possible for the next 4 years. Because as I mentioned about these next 10 years or now next 5 years, it's going to be critical because a lot of businesses, especially Black-owned and minority-owned businesses, are going to be impacted. Going to be impacted by artificial intelligence. Going to be impacted by some of the policy changes that may be favorable or not so favorable to Black-owned businesses. So I would say start there and then act on the areas that you need strengthening and support because the resources are there to help you every step of the way.
Amazing gems. I hope everyone's taking notes. He just gave us quite a checklist of really great items for us to go and do some housekeeping. I just want to bring some attention to the chat button. Please feel free to utilize that as we enter the next couple of minutes. As a small business owner, I'm already feeling the impact this week. I've heard from clients and who have decided not to do business this holiday season. Timely event today. So that was one of the questions that was actually brought up. Any responses or gems that you got for us, Lance?
Well, that's a very good point. Because on one hand, some will say over the last 4 years, consumer spending has been at a all-time high. But as the question is being asked, is consumer confidence, which then translates into consumer spending, starting with the holiday season and then going into 2025, are going to be at a negative or have a negative impact. That area, I don't have a crystal ball to know how consumers are going to react to the closing out of this administration and then going into the new administration for 4 years. But at the same time, consumers, regardless whether it's a holiday season or non-holiday season, need to get their financial house in order. They need to start saving. They need to get their credit, as I mentioned earlier, in managing their debt so that they, as a consumer, are in a better position to purchase goods and services from businesses, in this case, Black-owned businesses. If consumers aren't doing that now, then clearly they're going to continue to have more debt, or as we said, Operation Hope, more month at the end of their money, and then high credit card debt, no savings, which will dictate their spending habits. So again, I know with Operation Hope and other organizations that are in the work of helping people with their personal finance, our goal is to help prepare consumers and have them at a strong position from a consumer standpoint, so consumer spending doesn't decline, but it continues to grow.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, we do see that. We see a lot of people at tax season repaying themselves for the money that was spent during the holidays, so we can, as King Richard used to say, if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. So yeah, going into the holiday season is super important to have some type of budgeting around that. A great question that was raised up.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Erica, can I real quick before I start to interrupt you?
Mhm.
I think the other area, while it may not apply to everyone participating, but it's the earned income tax credit. It's this unknown initiative by the Department of Treasury that very few people are taking advantage of. And Operation Hope, working with the IRS, and I know when you mention IRS, people tend to run to the hills. But the IRS do have some good programs that are available for people who may qualify. So if there are individuals, going back, maybe this applies more to consumers than business owners, but for those consumers who are making less than $60,000 a year, who are single or who have children, the federal government owes you a check for each tax season up to $7,000 called the Earned Income Tax Credit. And they're willing to provide a check retroactively if you file taxes or haven't for the past 3 years. So a consumer who meets those requirements can get up to $21,000 from the federal government that can help jumpstart their financial well-being. Operation Hope has been successful in terms of helping people with this program, where they're averaging over $2,600 in refunds from the federal government. And that's life-changing when you look at 60% of the population don't even have $500 in their bank account for any emergency. So I bring that up to the last question about consumer spending. We're really advocating and doing these events around the country, encouraging people that if you are making less than, I think it's $63,000 or less, this program is available, and then we can connect you with VITA sites, volunteer tax preparers, certified tax preparers who will do the taxes for free. So as you mentioned, Erica, with upcoming tax season looming, this is a great opportunity to put money in the pockets of consumers and maybe even business owners that apply. But from a consumer standpoint, this will strengthen their financial situation so they can be contributors to Black-owned businesses.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for that share. A really great question that we had come up was, what is the dollar value of joining the 1 million Black business owners?
Excellent question. Zero. No cost at all. Thanks to the wonderful partners we have that allows us to provide this service at no cost to businesses and consumers. So it's free.
I
There's a
love a good
value
free.
though, because some people don't value free. There's a value. The value is $25,000 in terms of per business, but it's at no cost thanks to the contributions of our partners.
And we all love a good free 99. So y'all heard that.
That's right.
Thank you, Lance. And how would we build community to advocate and influence initiatives in this space?
Well, I think it starts with identifying like-minded organizations when it comes to small business or Black-owned business empowerment, identifying if they're like-minded organizations, private sector companies, and local government agencies. And then based on identifying those groups, then creating some type of committee or work stream of like-minded leaders to really talk about the issues and needs of the community. Every community has its own different issues and own different needs. So it's not a one size fits all. But when you establish these types of committees made up of a diversified group of leaders, then you can create a strategy that will tackle the issues at hand and for small business. And that's why I'm very proud of the Coalition of the Willing partner group that we've established. under one MBB, which is very diverse, because everyone is like-minded in terms of supporting Black-owned businesses throughout the U.S. And how can we collectively support each other in the individual work that we do, but what we do collectively. And again, it's 4 years in the works. 125,000 businesses are being supported through the coalition. And we started from scratch as an idea. Number two, identifying the needs of the community, Black businesses in the community, and then bringing people on to collaborate to be able to address those needs.
Amazing. I have two questions. Selfishly, one of them is mine. So it kind of teed me up with this last question, which was, how do we amplify this in our communities? And me selfishly working for JP Morgan Chase under the racial equity commitment. Byron had a great mastermind, and his superpower is getting the right people in the room. So I think there was a reason why he had me moderate this in a way. But my question to you is, we look for organizations like yours to partner with, because you drive home the exact messaging that we're looking to amplify and be on different grounds. If we wanted to work with Operation Hope, how does that work? I mean, where are you based out of? Is this a virtual kind of resource? Like, how do we connect? How do people out in our community get access to you and partner with you?
Yeah, thank you for that, Erica. And I could say over the years, Chase has been one of our great partners in many areas of our on our financial well-being journey. I would say from a company standpoint, if companies like Chase or other companies or organizations, I guess it will start with me. Byron has my email address that anyone could contact me to initiate the discussions or the conversation. From there, I'll bring my partnerships team to the table to discuss the variety of ways that an organization or a corporation can partner with our work, whether that's financial support, whether it's in-kind support, whether it's volunteer support, or whether that's program support through products and services that these companies and organizations provide. So I would say it will start with me, and we'll be happy to facilitate those conversations.
Great. Thank you so much.
Erica and Lance, and I'd like to chime in that CCMERA, in our role as a partner in the 1 Million Black Business Initiative, we are being trained at this point to have certain questions and introduce our businesses in our communities to the initiative. But they've set up a process that allows individual companies and individual business owners to be part of the collective, and the representatives in our local area. And I think we have Gus on the call as well, who will be able to respond to these needs. And Lance, if you can drill down on my answer a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. So because we are a national organization, we have our initiatives applied to every county, every city, every state across the U.S. So yeah, whether you come on board as a business owner, accessing the complementary resources using the CCMERA code, or as interested in terms of serving as a coalition partner along with CCMERA and other organizations, or being a partner of Operation Hope. There are so many ways for engagement, and I could serve as your portal into any of those areas, in addition to the code that's been provided through CCMERA.
Perfect. I have one more question that came in, and that's, what types of information does Operation Hope offer for patent and trademark assistance?
Good question. Well, one of our partners is the United States Trade and Patent Office. So we do webinars with them, virtual webinars on a regular basis. They are also part of our mentorship program, where businesses who sign up through the 1MBB portal, we can connect them directly with the patent office tied to their specific situation and needs. And so we're a very proud partner with the U.S. Trade and Patent Office. And again, I encourage you to connect with us, and we're happy to make an introduction directly.
Outstanding. Erica, if I can jump in, unfortunately, we've reached a point in time where we have to transition.
It's
during the
perfect
course-
timing, Byron. We have no more questions.
Great. It's working out the way it's supposed to. But I just wanted to mention that we also have local community partners, and represented on the call is Bruce Stensley, who's President and CEO of Economic Development Collaborative, and Dr. Ray Bowman, who is the director of the local Small Business Development Center. And they offer services for free to provide resources to our small business community. I wanted to acknowledge that as well. Lance, you're awesome. So generous of you to share your time with us, to support the work we're doing, and to bring your wisdom and knowledge to our community, and work with us as we try to do some work in the Tri-Counties to address some of these historical inequities and to move us forward as a collective in the broad area of economic development. Thank you again.
Thank you, everybody. It was an honor and pleasure, and have a great rest of your summit.
Great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce a sister in spirit and in our mutual interest in putting time into the community. And she has been so generous to donate her time to moderate our next very important panel. And this is our economic development roundtable. And before I bring Angela on, I just wanted to say that we want to make sure that we pay attention to some of the information Bruce is going to bring regarding California Jobs First and the governor's economic development initiative that's funded with a pool of $600 million to usher California into the next stage of economic development and workforce development. So pay close attention to what Bruce in particular has to offer us in that regard. So let me get out of the way. Again, the gracious and knowledgeable Dr. Angela Timmons, founder of and CEO of Healing Vibrations.
Thank you, Byron, and hello to every one of you. First of all, I'd like to thank CCMERA and Byron for having me here to facilitate this portion of this wonderful Economic Development Summit, something that is very much needed. The fact that you're on this call, let me just say this before we get into our roundtable, the fact that you're on this call tells us that you have interest in moving our community forward. You have interest in learning what you can do in order to generate wealth. You have a desire to expand our job opportunities to our community. And I applaud each and every one of you for being here. I know that your time is precious. The fact that you're on this call is saying a whole lot. So once again, good morning. My name is Angela Timmons, and I'm going to serve as your roundtable facilitator. Now, the fact that you're here, I know that you have questions, and maybe you'll ask those questions, or maybe you'll have input. My mother said once, because she enjoyed books. She was a self-learner. And she said, if you can get one thing out of a book, one thing, then it's worth keeping. If you can walk away with, I know you'll walk away with at least 3 things, but if you can walk away today with at least one inspiration or one area of motivation, and especially something that you can share with your community, with your family, with your friends, then it will have been well worth your time being on this call this morning. So I have a panel of folks that are going to respond, and also this audience. If you have input, we invite you to share. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, a few questions to generate interest, to generate discussion, and hopefully to generate inspiration and motivation. The first question I'd like to ask is this. Because we're talking about the Tri-County areas, what are the most pressing economic challenges facing the small businesses in our particular region? Many of you are from the Tri-County, from San Luis Obispo, Ventura, and we do have folks from Kern County, others from LA County. So what do you see as pressing challenges to economic development in the Black
Well, I can,
community?
and
Yes.
this is Morgan Clayton. I can start off by saying what I see as one of the major impacts is that whether you're looking at the various industries that are out there that are currently employing people looking for talent to sustain, what you're seeing is most of them shifting to what does it take to create the AI formats that are out there? What does it take to grow and to satisfy their investors and brokers of whatever they do as a specialty? And so how that impacts small businesses this. We're not in the boardrooms. We're not in those quiet spaces where people are making decisions, and typically we're outside of the decision-making process. So what I would say as an encouragement is we really need to have more collaboration, unified small business, so that we hear what's going on in those C-suites, so that we're able to go back to what Lance was talking about, be able to appropriately manage our finances, shut down things that are no longer effective, and be able to get in front of the headwinds. So I'll say that shortly while others input. That's just my quick input to your question, Angel.
Thank you. And Clayton, will you go ahead, Morgan Clayton, will you go ahead and give just a brief intro of who you are, where you are, what you do?
Wow, thank you. You're just going to put me right out there. Okay, good. Good morning. Morgan Clayton, born and raised in Bakersfield, California, essentially educated there as well. But basically in 1982, wanted to form my own business, and I'm a for-profit entity. We're a security company. We have about 75 employees, 20,000 customers across the Central Valley as well as the coast. We support 25 cities with basically all kinds of different technology and security support services. We're family owned, so I'm chairman of the board. I basically am directly involved with economic development, basically growth strategies for the corporation. And really, we're looking for just opportunities to connect what we do as a service to people who need it, from basic home businesses up to major organizations that Lance spoke of. We're very involved with these verticals. We're commercial, agricultural, educational, finance, government entities, energy, and executive protection facilities that we do. 10% of our space is like executive rotation, the rest is commercial. My daughter Tasha is the president. She is a graduate from Pepperdine University. She's gone through all the business courses there. Tyson, my son, heads all of the cloud-based services. He's a coder. He's a graduate from UCLA. And then Kevin, my oldest son, he does all the social media programming, facilitating, lining us up online. And he's also a Pepperdine graduate. He's a wave. And that is kind of what we do, other than my wife, Gloria, that tells us all what to do at the appropriate times. So I'm going to be real specific on that because I want to kind of hear others. But basically, I've been in business 45 years, African owned. And it's been very interesting because we've seen a lot of dynamics, and where we are able to sustain through all the headwinds that Lance talked about is because security is an imperative, whereas managing homelessness all the way up to managing key assets is a real key issue as we move forward, especially in the AI space. So there you go. Angela, that's my kind of quick dose to you.
Boy, that's pretty dynamic. And a couple of things that I want to point out that Morgan shared just now. Certainly the content is very important. But what stands out to me is his business is family owned. He supports the entire community, but he has involved his family in this business. And so when we talk about economic development, you know, we're talking about generational wealth. And that is one way to achieve generational wealth, is to include and to trust our family members that they can manage the business, will manage the business, and will carry it on. And so thank you so much, Clayton. I've been calling you Clayton since the last
No,
time.
Morgan's fine. Well, either one's fine.
Okay.
But you're welcome. Either one's fine.
We have other panelists actually, and will you just identify yourselves on this call? All my panelists, kind of give a shout out.
Oscar Edwards, Dr. Oscar Edwards.
Yes, yes. Good to see you.
Yeah, you want me to go ahead? Yeah, I am a consultant, been in business for over 40 years as well. Several companies, started in the media industry, serving minority businesses, media properties, radio, print, now in the digital age, across the United States for about 16 years. After that, got heavily involved in the AEC industry, basically construction, energy, and infrastructure, working with companies like Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas Company, San Diego Gas and Electric, designing and delivering training programs for minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses throughout the West Coast. And in the construction industry as well. I'm also a member of the United States Small Business and Entrepreneurship Association, which is the leading collection of entrepreneurship, academic, and research programs across the country. I've been involved with that organization for about 7 years now. I'm also an affiliate with the VentureWell, which is tied to the National Science Foundation, which funds minority innovation and technology entrepreneurship programs across the country for educational institutions, as well as grants for individual innovators, small business owners throughout the country. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm ready to share what I can to benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm happy to hop in. Bruce Tensley. Sorry, Gloria, I got in right ahead of you. So Bruce Tensley, President and CEO, Economic Development Collaborative. Thanks for the invitation, Byron and Angela, for hosting us and partnering with you, Morgan, Oscar, Gloria. So let me say 2 or 3 things real quickly. So one, we're regional, as Byron mentioned, the Economic Development Corporation. Do small business technical assistance, alternative lending. We can talk more about those. But our role in the sort of regional activity, also that Byron mentioned, as a partner on behalf of the state for the Central Coast region, Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis, and including Monterey, San Benito, Santa Cruz, is to figure out how in a post-COVID world that we take advantage of that circumstance and say, how can we do economic development differently? How can we respond to the reality that there is long-term discrimination, that there's long-term differentiation and opportunity, and there's wildly disproportionate impacts that occurred through COVID, through communities that were most disadvantaged or most disconnected, had least in the bank and the least in the tank, were able to move forward. When we say, what are we trying to do economic development differently, there are two fundamental issues. One, asking the first question, for whom do we do this work? Are we just trying to promote business for the sake of business? Well, of course not. But let's acknowledge that we're promoting business, working with business for the sake of creating quality job opportunities, an environment for entrepreneurship, and the creation of jobs, the sustaining and retaining of jobs, and jobs that pay a living wage, have career pathways and opportunities for economic mobility. So two other points. One of the things that we discovered in doing the research over the last couple of years, and I'll mention that we did some 98 listening sessions on the Central Coast targeted to communities who had been least listened to over the generations. We held, those served over, or included over 4,000 individuals. We contracted with 17 other community-based organizations who had roots and connections in the community to get information. We did industry and issue roundtables, 72 employer and industry interviews. So we tried to be, to use an overused word this day, sort of inclusive. But where am I going with this more quickly? We found that to align with comments from our key speaker a moment ago when he opened, but in the Central Coast, 45% of families in the Central Coast are not earning a living wage relative to the cost of living for the region. That is, they're not able to put money away for vacations. They're struggling to make ends meet. They're struggling to access health care. 45% of families, and we like to think of ourselves as a wealthy region. The root cause of that is not only a long-term history of discrimination, disadvantage, et cetera, but the reality is that only 25% of the jobs on the Central Coast pay an actual living wage, and another 15% actually offer career pathways to a living wage. So not only do we need to engage the community to figure out how we get people into quality jobs, we got to create more quality jobs that actually pay the wage that allow a family to live here and excel here. And those are two high, very heady initiatives to try and work on. But let's acknowledge that it's aspirational. We're not going to make that happen overnight. It requires the kind of genius that our first speaker and second here already noted, and as you did, it's the entrepreneurship of extended families figuring out how to do it. We can't just wait for others to create jobs for us. We need to be empowering communities with access to capital and entrepreneurs with the resources to create the jobs that lead to living wages and the ability to live in the region effectively. I'm thrilled to be here. That's sort of my long-winded introduction. We can talk more about the resources that we have that we intend to try and make sure we're putting in the hands of motivated, entrepreneurial, and inspired folks, but I'll turn it over to others for the moment. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bruce. And we're going to ask Gloria to give an introduction.
Thank you very much. This is why Bruce apologized to me, because it's very difficult to follow him, but I'm going to try. My name is Gloria Martinez. I am the Economic Vitality Manager at the County of Ventura. So I am going to have a little bit of that lens and bring the Ventura County perspective to this conversation. I apologize for that up front. I'm really glad that Bruce mentioned the Uplift Central Coast Initiative, and I know we're going to talk about it a lot today. I'm very heartened to when that came out to see it align so well with the county's economic vitality strategic plan, which is what I have responsibility over, and we're currently updating. My background is I have 20 years experience working in nonprofits. I have advocated, I spent 14 years advocating for housing, affordable housing, specifically working in areas of homelessness, immigration, refugee resettlement, poverty, a lot of poverty issues, and then found myself working for a chamber of commerce. I ran a chamber of commerce for 3.5 years that was very focused on economic development and just all of the things that we're talking about here. I was very fortunate to work with a city council and a community that was just a top priority. And so coming back to the county of Ventura, to my hometown and where I grew up, bringing some of those best practices and that thought and that lens in this area is just a privilege and honor. So going back to the Economic Vitality Strategic Plan, what we're really focused on aligns well, like I said, with what Bruce said. How do we create those quality jobs, those jobs that provide benefits, are supportive of professional development, help provide enough wages to support a family and live in this very expensive region that we get to enjoy. How we can do that through entrepreneurship and definitely developing and bringing those tools, and that is 100% a focus. But we also can look at attraction activities. How do we really leverage the assets that we have in our county and up and down the Central Coast to attract the kind of companies that will bring these types of jobs? And so that's an area that we're looking at our partners at the naval base and working closely with them, looking at our Port of Hueneme and the amazing assets that we have there, even looking and working with our local universities and figuring out how to create the pathways that will train up our workforce to be able to take advantage of new opportunities that we hope to bring to the region. So I hope I have a little bit more time later to delve into that a bit, but that's the kind of things that are most present of mine at this moment.
Thank you so much. And to all our panelists, we do appreciate you being here. Folks, we have a wealth of brilliance on this call, and so we hope you take advantage of it. My first question is actually, this will be my first question to everyone. Would you type in the chat if you've heard of the Uplift Regional Plan? If you will type in the chat, those of us who are on this call, have you heard of the Uplift Regional Plan? And it's actually
I'm getting some no's, I'm getting some yes, I'm getting some no's, I'm getting some green check marks, just giving you some updates on what I'm seeing here on the chat.
We're going to stick a pin in that because we need to drill down and share with our audience what that is and how they can be a part of that. That's going to be very important. So thank you for responding. Okay, we're going to move forward with our questions to our panelists. So again, the first question to our panel was the economic challenges that are being faced by the businesses in our particular region. Any more discussion on that? Anyone else want to chime in?
This is Oscar Edwards. I'll chime in. I don't have all the data points for the region, but I do know the global for the county areas that are involved in Tri-County counties, which are trending relative to ethnic groups, African Americans, Latinos, veteran and women, which is the area, that space that I work a lot in throughout the West Coast. The themes are the same that many of us have already mentioned in terms of the challenges of access to capital and being able to have an opportunity to do the work in the entrepreneurial sector. One of the things that I've learned working up and down the coast and supporting large corporations in terms of them being able to reach out, or community organizations or groups, business organizations, the ability that was mentioned earlier, attraction. You got to work from an embedded to an unembedded situation to access new opportunities and resources. So that means in the Tri-County, what was mentioned earlier, traction. You've got to attract contract opportunities from outside of the Tri-Counties for those businesses in the Tri-County, and the vice versa. Seek the entry points outside of the Tri-County and introduce those opportunities to the Tri-County entrepreneurs. That is the simplest process that one can deploy as a business owner. So as an entrepreneur who has done it, I've had contracts in the Tri-County as a LA County business owner. I used to represent VCTC with my media company and Ventura County Public Works. So I was an LA County company that got contracts in Ventura County and San Bernardino County, Riverside County, San Diego County. All those counties, my company had contracts with the transit properties and the public works departments. That was a specialty we developed. So any company can do that, but they need a system. So that's one example of how we can develop a strategy, take CCMERA as an organization, put them in a position with the regional agencies to resource, which was mentioned earlier by Lance, and go to work in that respect. That's a low-hanging proposition, what I call hanging fruit proposition. So that's as a suggestion, as an example in response to the question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oscar. Anyone else?
I think one thing I want to mention is that activities such as this, and I forgot to say thank you to Byron and CCMERA in the beginning for putting this together. One thing that we know is that businesses that are not connected and networked and plugged in to traditional support systems fare far worse than businesses that are. During the pandemic, we saw this vividly. The businesses that had a prior banking relationship with a business banker were able to access funds much quicker than businesses that did not. And we saw that when it came to the grants that were available to businesses. Businesses we're not used to applying for grants. That's not in your DNA, at least most businesses, right? But now they had access to all of these funds that were coming through, and not really the technical expertise to access them or to even find out about them. And so I think coming out of that, my biggest takeaway, what I always impart, and this is some of my chamber background coming out, but what I always impart is that businesses get plugged in, connect with organizations like CCMERA, go to your chamber of commerce. And I know that sometimes places don't always feel welcoming, and that is an issue, but we really have to figure out ways to, as a community, get plugged into these systems that provide access to the resources that we need. And I'm really glad one of our key partners, Bruce, is on this call, because EDC is another one of those fantastic organizations. Get how to get off the shop floor and take a course or make an appointment with that mentor, or just sign up for that email and open it and look at it, is just one simple step, but can really lead to phenomenal resources and information that you wouldn't get otherwise. So I think if I can leave anyone with that, how to, getting businesses plugged in, getting networked, getting connected in, and the organizations that serve those businesses, making sure that we're bringing that to the small business owners.
Excellent point from each of you. And there's something I want to spin off on. What you're talking about, Gloria, is certainly the access to capital that Lance talked about, the important thing to be plugged in to a financial source. And to all of you that are on this panel, I'm going to veer and ask this question. What was your personal pathway? And we're going to just spend a few minutes on this. What can you share with this audience was your personal pathway to your financial literacy and to understanding what you needed to do in order to become an entrepreneur. And in the chat, those of you who are listening, please, if you type in financial literacy, we just want to make sure you are awake. You're with us. So anyone.
Yeah, Angela, I'll jump on it because I'm going to piggyback on what Gloria and also what Oscar kind of said, and Bruce as well. So I really appreciate it. And it really goes back to, and I'll try to connect the dots this way. Answering your question early on, when a business is small, I tell people what they try to do is cover their basis of how they're going to take care of themselves. So they target very low sales goals, and essentially it's almost a break-even analysis where they kind of go in and they're not scaling to grow. So over time, I think what it is getting the appropriate, look at what you want to be. What I did was look at what I wanted to be, which is a successful security company. I then targeted who are the most successful companies out there, and I picked a mentor who brought me into showing me exactly how to behave. And now I'm going to come back to Gloria's point. Here's what I found out. Most people, old school, walk in and figure it's, I tell my staff, people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. How do you build trust? The key factor is most agencies today, even my own, most online qualification is online. Most interviews is online. Most pre-bid qualification is online, which is a plug for Byron. And back to Oscar, you have to understand how to access the right people that will give you an opportunity, bottom line, to bid, because bidding is where you get your opportunity to make money. And so I'm summarizing it and saying that find a mentor who understands and has survived the marketplace. And what I tell people, that's not your mother, your brother, your sister, your dad, unless they've been a family-owned business for several years. And then you can kind of plug in. Then ask them, what does their history look like from the standpoint of profitability and sustainability and retention of the people that they have? And once you get that model in place, I tell people, meet with them, breakfast, lunch, check in with them monthly, present your report card. Going back to the beginning conversation, most of us are embarrassed to say when we fail. I tell people, don't be embarrassed to say where you fail, just be embarrassed to say, this is where I'm not going to go back to. I'm going to change my behavior to go forward. So I'm going to pause right there because I know we're on time schedule, but all of it's exciting. For me, the answer to the question is, I found someone who was doing it right. And believe it or not, this person is 95 years old, and he and I still meet. And I've been in business 40 years, and we still meet.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's my point.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Pathway to your financial literacy panel member.
This is Oscar again. Well, obviously my academic background is in finance, but that doesn't mean anything relative to actually working in a business. You can go and get book knowledge that only takes you so far. So really pretty much what Morgan is saying, that's how I got in business. I was working in a situation. I saw a colleague who became a mentor, who knew the spaces and the places, and networked with him to introduce me to the broader opportunity in the media field, and actually just showed me the whole ropes. And that led, I was just like a contractor, and that led to the development of the company. And so it is important to change your mindset. I think we don't spend enough time on the mindset issue. Everybody wants to jump into business. They're thinking about making money, whatever their big, what we call the bag, right? Big audacious goal is. But really, you have to temper your mindset first to really have a sustainable path.
Yes.
And I think we jump into the finance and access to capital, operations, but it's the mindset of being an entrepreneur, which we need to really go back to grade school, middle school, high school, and talk about entrepreneurial mindset will open up the possibility of getting a foundation faster to these other resources just with that mindset. So that would be my add to what Morgan just shared.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Oscar. Any of our other panelists want to chime in briefly?
I would love to talk on this topic because honestly, my path to financial literacy and independence started when I was working at that Chamber of Commerce, because I had a board of directors of all CEOs, owner, C-level executives. And I love what Oscar said about mindset, and I love what Morgan said about mentorship, because that circle, that board really was a mentorship group, not only to each other, but I was sitting in these conversations and learning so much about the mindset when it comes to dealing with money and how to handle money. And it was really eye-opening, and it made it so, for me personally, so important that we get this information and this perspective out to our schools, to our youth, to get it in the minds and hands of people. And now I'm going to kind of go to, this is a Black business event, but going back to, we weren't raised, at least for me, as a Latina, I wasn't raised to think about money in this way. We weren't taught, the stock market, and this is how you do things. Like it was learning a whole language. And I just got so excited about it. And now I'm a big advocate for bringing this into the schools. I think our first speaker, Lance, talked about that and the work that Operation Hope is doing. And I'm just cheering that, because the sooner that we can get this information mindset to our young people, it's just vital for that generational wealth creation.
Yeah. Audience, type in the chat, mindset.
Yep.
That's important. And I want to circle back around to that. And Bruce, do you have any comments? And then we're going to our next question.
Sure, I'll hop in real quick. Continuous learning is just absolutely critical. To Gloria's point a moment ago, nobody's teaching us, how to financial literacy really in the schools. And nobody's teaching us, where to go find these emerging new sources of capital as financial markets and creativity and entrepreneurship changes. So we just need to acknowledge that it's changing so fast that being networked, like has been mentioned several times, is absolutely critical. It's really important to know where your markets are, but it's really important to know where your mentors and your allies and your resources for information. We try to do that as well as we can through our Small Business Center. Marvin Botang, our Director of Lending, is on, and Ray Bowman, our Small Business Director. We maintain a core of business advisors with incredible diversity on all of these issues and with backgrounds. We don't have all the answers, but we know that the businesses ask the right questions. We can help them find the right sources of capital. But it's really continuous learning. Things change so fast.
Yes. Thank you so much, panelists. And for those of you that are listening, would you type in the chat if you have a mentor, yes or no? That's interesting. I would like to know if you have a mentor, or if you're looking for a mentor, or if you are a mentor. Please type that in the chat. And we're moving on to our next question. What opportunities, panel, do you see for economic growth and development in the Tri-County area? What opportunities are there? Morgan, take yourself off mute.
Thank you so much for that. You saw my lips move. Well, I'm so excited because listening to Oscar, especially Bruce and Gloria, here, I'm from Kern County, and I sit on the executive committee, B3K, which is our whole economic development strategy that we're working there. And I'll take the key points out of our economic study. Basically, we pulled top community leaders who are driving industry together. They saw all of the market impacts, going back to what Jane was saying, the speed of what's happening, and then looking down at minority communities and seeing businesses saying they're not keeping up. So when I go into the C-suites, I'm kind of the only African-American sitting there. And usually all the questions come at me, but sometimes I say, I'm more than one voice. But the key is that we in the Kern County area want to build regional collaboration, because the governor looking at basically going into region strategies, bringing all these agencies together. So my whole focus with Byron, working with him, which has been excellent, and listening to you, is to take the B3K strategies that we've been working and then bring them into the Tri-County areas. And we all start looking at how do we lift everyone up? And that is more paying jobs, greater opportunities across different markets, whatever the diversified markets are, or future incoming things that we all know that are being thought about, but the jobs are not ready yet because AI is changing how we do business. So for me, the answer to your question is bringing us together in collaboration to bring our influencers, our stakeholders, and our wealth generation holders to say, how can we do this together to make everything better, but especially digging down deep into the African-American, Latino, all minority-owned businesses to help them rise so that going back to what Van said earlier, so that basically we can afford what we need to do to survive, thrive, and be happy.
There you go.
So I'll summarize there.
Regional collaboration. Anyone else?
Well, I'll chime in. I think what Morgan said is on point. I would add that obviously I'm involved in nationally entrepreneurship, innovation, technology, the movement nationally, the flow of funds nationally to the region. I think we need to be mindful of where resources are trending from a federal to a state down to the county level. And we need to, even though we're in a climate of change, we still need to be in tune with the flow of funds. I found from my own survey with these national organizations that are Eastern oriented and Eastern based, I don't feel that we are getting enough emphasis on the West Coast in terms of the resourcing of initiatives, green initiatives, infrastructure initiatives. Even though we know there's a flow, it's still, I don't see our representation from California that way in these national collaboratives around the funding initiatives.
Okay.
And so I'm just saying, as a region of the Tri-Counties, in terms of the building a community, having a community of influence with the stakeholders at the table on a federal level can actually help the Tri-Counties, federal to the state to your region, is what you got to get in line with if you want that kind of resource to build out a pathway for the community in these trending areas that are being funded. You have the bases, the naval base, all of these organizations are a part of the funding streams, and the dots need to be connected. The players need to be at the table to share actually how the rubber is going to meet the road. Mm-hmm. But it's happening. And I just feel that, and I shared this all through Southern California, we're not as tenacious, I don't think. I'm there at the table, I see it. I don't think we're as tenacious as we could be.
Okay.
And, that's just something to look at. But I'm just saying, where CCMERA sits and the folks that are on this summit meeting today, that's an opportunity for anybody who can collaborate together to influence their resourcing. So that's just something I recognize. Thank you.
Before any of our other panelists respond, I would like to acknowledge that we have some recent admins to our Economic Development Summit, and I'd just like to let you know where we are. We are in the roundtable discussion, and we invite you to include any questions that you might have in the chat. And also we are asking our panelists questions. And the question is, what can we do to meet pressing needs or for the economic challenges that are facing the Black business community in the Tri-County area?
I'll be happy to hop in just quickly following the comments of our prior to and Oscar in particular, and would agree with him that we have not in our region been as effectively network connected to the larger national opportunities. And that's a huge theme that you'll see if you take a look at the Uplift Central Coast. To drill down in just one aspect of that, We've prioritized a couple of specific areas using a broad term of precision manufacturing, and it's specifically connected to the advanced air and space and aeronautics and drone and technologies. But if we do that in an isolated way, we're just going to create a handful of jobs in a small area. If we think of it broader, more strategically, and including Kern County, for example, how does Naval Base Ventura County connect to Ridgecrest, and how does it connect to Mojave, and does it connect to Vandenberg going up the Central Coast, and to the assets in Monterey in that region? And we start building a collective around that, we might have the opportunity to actually create ways for businesses to connect to those federal investments. That's not the only answer, but it's a key and strategic one. And just to drill into it a little bit deeper, in Ventura County alone, sorry, I'll be a little myopic with one county specifically, there are about 960 manufacturing firms, and about 60 to 70% of them have 10 or fewer employees. And a huge chunk of them, I don't have the exact percent, are minority-owned businesses. These are well-paying jobs. These are connected to growth opportunities. They're skill specific, but they're the types of skills that can be accessed by community college and apprenticeship type trainings. There are career pathways and accesses to them. And we've retained those industry sector and occupations, but I think we're looking at a key opportunity now to grow them. That's one aspect. The other big challenge for the region, and I'll stop there, is we have a lot of jobs, not just in Ventura County, but increasingly when you get into Santa Barbara and San Luis in the hospitality and tourism sector. We can grow those, but the trick is a lot of those jobs do not pay a living wage. So how do we create jobs in those categories that also have connection to skill and training pathways to other industries and other sectors that do? So we've got to be mindful about the balance between different sectors. And I should mention one other piece, and I know we got Laura Martinez in the call who'd be a lot more expert in this than I am. We have an enormous ag sector, and we don't want it to go away, but we want to recognize that it's evolving quickly too in automation. It's the key foundation historically and in 100 different ways for who we are, but we've got to make sure that we're keeping up with advances in technology changes in that sector and how we connect the global economies in that sector. So we don't want to just talk about manufacturing. We want to be holistic about all sectors. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I know that we're running out of time for this particular segment. I'd like to give Gloria about a 10-second spot to respond, and then we're going to wrap up. Thank you.
Wow, 10 seconds for that one. I'll try. I will try. Okay, I agree with Bruce about the opportunities. Two things. We want to create quality jobs, and we can do that through innovation. When in Ventura County, we're seeing a growing biotech. We're seeing a biotech sector with a lot of opportunities. We have a defense tech sector that is happening in our county, but we're not harnessing and connecting into it as well as I think we can. And we're starting to have conversations to turn that around. We have a port that's a phenomenal economic driver. And I don't know if we're really truly leveraging that partnership as much as we can. And I know Christian's on this call, and I'm so happy to see her here because that's an incredible asset. When we talk about opportunities, that's another one. I like what Bruce said about ag. I think the ag tech space is very exciting. I had the opportunity to do a farm day where we go out to the farms and farms open their facilities. And I saw autonomous equipment to pick strawberries and a vacuum that goes over the strawberry beds and sucks in the pests. It's like a little vacuum, and so it's a chemical-free way to do pest control. These technologies were developed by a guy in his garage, and they're being tested out on these fields, and this is happening in our county. And so when we talk about opportunities, I think there's a lot of space for us to just harness what we have, empower those entrepreneurs with skills, access to capital, research and development support, and exposure, right? And be able to create those quality jobs and enhance the jobs that are already here, but create opportunities for residents to move up in pathways. So those are the two biggest.
Panelists, you have been phenomenal. Thank you so much for your inputs. And I trust that our listening audience that you've gleaned something, please in the chat, one thing that you've gotten, or maybe 2 or 3 things that you've received from today's round table that's going to enhance your life or promote your business or just you personally. And I'd like to end this segment at this time with just a quote from a quick quote. There are so many quotes I have, but I'll just make this one a very quick one. And it's from a sacred script. It says, whatever you do, whatever it is, do it with all your heart. That's where it first starts. You have to have a heart for what you do. And it's obvious that those, the panelists that are here and those that are listening, you're here because you have a heart and you want to learn more. And so we encourage you to do the dig, do the study. There's someone, if you don't know Myron Golden, he's a brilliant businessman. You can Google him. He's an entrepreneur or he's a motivational speaker. He says now in this age with social media platform, there's no excuse. So go out and learn. There's so much that I'd like to comment to, but my time is up. I thank you so much for your participation, panelists. We appreciate you so much. And then for those of you who are here in this summit, blessings to each and every one of you. I'll turn it back over to Byron.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Outstanding. What a great segment there, and what a great session. Boy, I'd like to chime in, but respect for our schedule and our next group. I'll bring up another one of my sisters in the community and my chairperson on Workforce Development Board, Ms. Laura Martinez of HR Force, and she certainly is a force. So without any further ado, take it away, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm happy to be here. I'm just so intrigued in this first part of the event that I'm just kind of forgetting that I'm a moderator. But yes, thank you so much. So good morning. Thank you, Byron, for inviting me to this great event, and welcome everyone. We have a great panel of experts from various industries to discuss strategies and resources for small businesses today. And I'm excited to talk to them and have you hear them out because they are a powerhouse of a panel. Look at that. So because of our time that we have, I will do some introductions of our panel. And I will ask if the panelists want to have just a little bit once you start answering questions, you can introduce yourselves or actually just add something to what I'm going to go through here. So with us, we have Kristen Decas, CEO of Port of Hueneme. If I mispronounce your name, please feel free to correct me. All right, welcome, Kristen. Oh, it's Decas. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Welcome, Kristen. And then we have Seisha Davis, business banker at Mission Bank. Welcome, Seisha. Marvin, this one's going to be tough. Okay, Marvin Boateng.
Marvin Boateng.
Boateng. Thank you. Director of Funding and Economic Development Corporation. And Kelsey Newman, Creative Director at Attain DMC.
Right.
Did I get everyone?
If you say it with the French accent, it comes off a lot, stronger.
Oh, I see. Tell me. Oh.
No, I'm teasing about it. It's Kelsey Newman, but
Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for being here today. This very informative session. I'm excited about this panel. We will move on to the questions we have for you. For those joining us today, feel free to enter any questions in the chat box. We will get to them at the end of our panel discussion. So thank you for that. All right, let's start with Seisha today. Seisha, are you on
Yes,
mic? Yes, you
I
are.
am indeed.
Hi.
Happy
So
to be
how
here.
can, thank you. How can small businesses access affordable financing and capital?
I think a really important space to start in when starting a small business is injections, right? And that's injections from the business beneficial owners. And that would be, you putting a little skin in the game. You put your money forward, as we heard in the last panel discussion, and you can't be afraid to fail because failure creates growth opportunity. And so injections is a really great way to start the business. And then it kind of shows your promise to make the business succeed. So I think that's number one for me, injections. You can also utilize some of your partners. I currently work with Weave, which is Women Economic Ventures, and they do forgivable loans every year. And so they pick a different segment to work with every year and a territory, and they do $10,000 forgivable loans. When you do apply for those loans and you're in that pool of people, you also have the opportunity to complete some business classes that are paid for by Weave as well. So something to take advantage of there. Another great strong partner is EDC, who we heard from earlier, Bruce chiming in a lot on that previous panel. Another opportunity, and this will be my last since it's a lengthy answer, is SBA lending partners. And you want to take advantage of whether you're doing a 7A loan or a 504, looking into opportunities to apply for business lending that are state backed and bank backed. And so it gives you a better opportunity to be approved.
Wonderful. Great. Does anyone have anything to add to Seisha's comment or feedback?
Yeah, I can add something. Martin Boitin, Director of Lending for the EDC. I would also say that the affordability of capital also depends on how well you manage your financials as well. Oftentimes businesses, they come in, and if they're not managing their financials well, it's very difficult to extend a loan to them. There's ways to improve that. You can do credit repair if you have credit issues, but you can also meet with the Small Business Development Center, which the EDC has, that has advisors that could help you with your business plan, or even just thinking about how you should actually restructure your business, how you should operate your business more efficiently and effectively. So I would say that the accessibility, the affordability really depends on your situation. Sometimes I have businesses that come in, and if their financials are not really strong, what's really available is hard money. So it's really important, and I'm sure Seisha would also mention this, is to really have your financials in order, to be able to access best capital that's out there. CDFIs, which we are Coin CDFI, are the best ways, I would say, to access startup capital. Also capital under $250,000, just because we're mission driven, and we lend for purposes for that reasons as well. So it's really important to really understand your financials and to connect with advisors that can help you out as well.
Sure. I keep listening to everyone about the financials, and that's probably one of our hardest topics for business owners, I think. Like Gloria mentioned earlier, some of us didn't grow up with financial literacy. And I think that's going to be key to our business owners having that literacy and ensuring that they're successful, right?
Yeah, and it's important to note as well, and a lot of businesses don't know that, but there is free technical assistance that's out there. Operation Hope is one. You have women's business centers, then you also have the Small Business Development Center. So there are free resources out there, and you can meet with these advisors as long as you want, as long as you're delivering some type of a milestone, something back to them. Either you're getting capital, you're improving your business, and you're reporting that to them. That helps them to get more funding to be able to provide these free services. So
great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Marvin, for that feedback. One more question for you, Seisha, on the financial. Give our business owners some tips on how they can improve their cash flow and working capital.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of what Marvin said, some really great points there. And you're ahead of the game, right? This is kind of answering the question she's asking now, what you discussed earlier. And that's really getting your financials in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish as a business. That means streamlining receivables, making sure that you have effective invoicing so that you're proactive on your follow-up for businesses. Another very strong suit would be to negotiate better terms with your vendors. I think a lot of people know about 30, 60, 90-day payables, but what's never considered off when you're negotiating originally with the contract is you can do 120 days in payables, and it's just something to consider, right? Moving the dollar forward a little more as you're going through your receivables and seeing what you can do and pay off. But I think it's super important for every business owner to make sure that they're really pruning those underperforming assets and protecting the bottom line, right? And what you're doing with that is you're redirecting resources for a higher return on your investments. A holistic approach ensures smooth alignment with your working capital and the management of that working capital. So be very mindful of how you're using the dollar each day.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to, let's go to the Port of Hueneme to Kristen and get some feedback from her. Kristen, share with us the opportunities and challenges facing businesses in the region and how they can leverage the port's resources to enhance their competitiveness.
Well, first off, good morning. Thank my colleagues with me here this morning, Laura, for your leadership on our panel, and of course, Brian, for all the hard work that goes into putting something like this together and for the privilege to be part of this panel. So thank you for that. I'll push myself aside here and just welcome you to the Port of Hueneme. You can see the picture of the port there.
Yay.
That is your seaport. It's your 2.8 billion economic engine for the county that employs close to 25,000 folks, moving primarily commodities in the space of perishable goods and automotive cargo and what we call project cargo, a lot of yachts and things like that. If you look really hard, you might see some of that stuff there. But good morning. First off, I would echo Marvin's sentiments here and just say also I've had the privilege of serving as chair of the EDC this year, and firsthand I've had the honor of seeing the great work that these individuals do to reach out to the network of businesses through these consultant services and the real positive and meaningful impact that they bring to help uplift our business community. And I think that they're the best to really speak to those challenges, but being somewhat of an enterprise organization and having to compete hard for business, I imagine a lot of the challenges facing our business community are shared by what our team does when we try and secure business, being, strong marketing campaigns, effectively capturing market share and penetrating new markets for us around the world. And I'm sure a lot of our local businesses would be very interested in penetrating those markets. And just in general, competitive forces and what we see happening in the economy. What is the cost of money? Some of the things our friend spoke about earlier. If you need to invest in infrastructure to make your business more competitive, how do you access that capital and how do you compete? And so I think there's a lot to learn from our friends at EDC. And I think what we're more geared to is to support the business community and open doors and opportunities. We have a lot of, and there's just a lot of different ways that we can offer those opportunities. From one, we have $240 million grants in front of us for construction projects. So when you look at our great trades teams and apprentices opportunities in that space and bringing talent in to build our port, there's a lot of opportunities that I could speak to folks offline about. We also have a World Trade Center license that networks us with 390 World Trade Centers around the world where we could help our local businesses tap international markets. I think 95% of the world's consumer are outside the US. So how do we create those opportunities for our local small businesses to tap into those markets and not make it look scary, but make it look real? And I think the port is positioned to help break into some of those barriers. And then just general services that we offer. We welcome businesses to call the port. We have a lot of vendors, we have a lot of customers that need your services, and we can connect those dots for you.
Wow, what a wealth of information and resources that the port does offer. And I think a lot of people may not know that. So Kristen, thank you for that information. So my other question or my follow-up is how do, give me a step-by-step maybe on how the small businesses or businesses in our community can actually engage or reach out or start working with the port and take advantage of those resources?
Well, 805-488-3677. Call us is one easy way. Hop on we're the Port Authority itself, we're lean. We're only 40 folks here, so we can get you in touch based on what it might be the interest, the right people here at the port. So if you're interested in learning more about opportunities in construction, we always post our bids on Planet Bids, but we can help you navigate you through that process and how to compete. For projects that we have out on the street, whether it's consultant projects or whether it's construction projects, we always welcome consultants to come in and meet with the right teams to share their services, whether it's in marketing expertise they could bring to the table, filming expertise, whether it's just engineering expertise. We welcome all of you to come in and we really want to support our local business community. It's interesting, 95% of the people that work at the port live in Ventura County, and 65% of the people that work at the port live in Oxnard or Port Hueneme. And so it's our goal to really create the business opportunities locally. So it's really, come look us up, and we can help put those dots together, whether it's working with one of our customers or whether it's working with our team. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and it's about our local businesses. It's built into and baked into our mission statement here to uplift our local community and the businesses around us.
Wow. Thank you, Kristen. That is really motivational for, for businesses to take advantage of those resources. Has anyone on the panel have any add-ons to what Kristen offered and what she mentioned? Has anybody have experience with the port? In the chat, you can go ahead and enter any of your experiences with the port or any questions that you may have regarding Kristen's information.
What's the area I'd add on to, a lot of what we're doing is in innovation and technology. We just got a $43 million grant from the EPA to procure all battery electric equipment. And so what we're trying to do is not only build the port, but build green and create opportunities in this new tech environment. And I think we succeed in moving this grant forward and procuring this equipment. We could be the first battery electric port in the country, or zero emission port from a handling equipment standpoint. But that's another area. If the business community is out there and you're innovating in tech and green technology, please look us up. Because we are at the forefront of bringing this new technology into a maritime environment. We also have FathomWorks here, which is our incubator lab for techs, and there's a lot of cross pollination and technology that you could take and bring to the port. So we're all ears here and welcome that community of technology and innovation to come talk to us.
Great, thank you so much. All right, thank you, Kristen. Let's move on to Marvin. Are you ready for us?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Marvin, how can small businesses build strong relationships with other businesses and community organizations, like, for instance, the port, or any other organizations that are on this call today?
Yeah, I would say be active in your community. Also join organizations like CCMERA, tune into what the EDC does. There's a lot of different organizations in our community that can help you, find the network that you need to grow your business. It's important to get involved with the local government, to be involved in the different conferences and different programs, because you might be able to get a government contract, which can help accelerate and grow your business as well. So it's really important to go out there, to step out there, be in your community, be active in your community, and join these different organizations.
Great. And to add to that, a follow-up question, there are so many resources and so many organizations that help our business owners. Is there a place where they can go and say, where are these places? Or what is the best way of identifying these places?
Navigating, these different resources. There's a couple ways. I have my own business, and the first thing I think about is my goals. What are my goals for my business? Do I want to get into government contracting, right? Then I start to look at different organizations that are heavily embedded in government. I do like organizations like the EDC. I work for the EDC, but I've gone to different counties, I've been to different states, and I've seen different EDCs. I think it's a great place to start because they tend to have their hands in a lot of different sectors. And so getting involved with an EDC, the SBDCs, our SBDC has about 50 small business advisors, a lot very, very successful in their own right, in their own practices and so forth. And it's free. And so it's taking your time, just looking at the different resources, really trying to find out what your goals are and trying to align, what organizations will direct you to where you want to go. But I usually would start with a bigger organization that has their hands in a lot of different areas to see if they can navigate you there. Look at the SBDCs, local governments, and so forth. So
Great, thank you. Anybody have any additional information based on that question where businesses can look?
Yeah, absolutely. I have something to add there. I think networking for small businesses is super important, which we've all kind of hit on at this point. But finding other organizations full of professionals that are within your same niche is really important. So there's groups out there like Provisors, where professionals gather monthly and discuss opportunity for referrals specifically. And so that's a great place for businesses to go. I previously mentioned Women Economic Ventures, which is a great resource, not only for women, I know it's titled that way, but a lot of the small businesses that do apply for grants and for forgivable loans and lending through them are also just looking to network with other like-minded people, right? And so reaching out to your local resources like CCMERA, like EDC are all great places to start.
Great, thank you. And I also want to point people towards CCMERA. If you contact them, they will actually get you in the right track of organizations that you can contact. So that's a good point there. Then Marvin, also, what are some of the common financial mistakes that small businesses make and how can they be avoided?
So many we see here at the EDC. I would say one that pops out is businesses that underreport their income, and then they come to us and expect a large loan. So they know they're making, $1 million, they're doing $1 million in revenues, they're netting about 400,000, but they're only showing 10,000 in profits. And they want to come to the EDC and get a $250,000 loan. We could only go based on what you're reporting. Like I know you're doing well, you're probably getting cash and you're not reporting everything. But that's going to hurt you because in one instance, in one benefit, you're not paying as much taxes, but in the other instance, where you want to grow, it's difficult to get the capital to grow because you're underreporting your income. Not understanding your financial needs, that's a big one as well. It's interesting, a business will come into the office here and will say, hey, I need a loan to grow my company, or I need a loan for X, Y, and Z. Then I'll say, how much? They'll say, whatever you can give me. If you say whatever you can give me, that tells me you don't really financial needs, then I have concerns of whether I should lend money to you, right? So that's another one. Another pitfall I would say, in addition to that, is you got to understand your financial statements. I know Seisha talked about it. She talked about the operating cycle, understanding, your business cycle, your receivables, your inventory, your accounts payables. How much money do you need? Why do you need that money? What are some of the reasons why you need, finance? Just really understand your financials. I don't expect a business owner to have a strong understanding of everything. However, with our resources, we do have financial advisors here. If you're willing to learn, willing to meet with somebody, that's really what I'm looking for. We look to grow with our businesses. We see ourselves as partners. What we want to see is your business thrive, so you can create more jobs or retain more jobs in the community. And we'll help you by just helping understand your financials and getting you the capital that you need. So when I make a loan, a direct loan to a business, the money is not really as important as the business owner, really understanding the business and how to grow the business effectively. I find, what I do is just one end, to this whole project, but really the big picture is making sure that we create something that's sustainable, that's lasting, and it's a cooperation. So.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And it goes back to financial literacy. It goes back to a plan, and it goes back to knowing where to go for help, and also your credit. So yes, thank you so much for that. All right, Kelsey.
Hey.
What are the most significant trends and challenges facing small businesses in the current economic climate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. And who knows what this economic climate's going to be. I mean, we don't know where the future lies. It could be a little bit of anything. But let's talk about what's been happening so far in the past. I think we start from about the time of COVID. One of the biggest trends has been remote and hybrid work. That's really been big, and it's been a blessing for many people to be at home and working and being able to have some family time with the kids and be able to play with the dog and watch your TV and actually there was one time where people were just dressing top up and they still had their pajamas down. We all remember that time. But now we're kind of gravitating away from that, which is kind of one of those challenges. And I'll speak about that on the challenges side. I think hybrid work has been really great. One of my business partners that's in Los Angeles, Mark, he and I have been able to collaborate really great on a lot of different marketing projects that typically we don't have to be on site for. So if we have clients that are in DC based or clients that are in Atlanta based, it's been very beneficial. But the downturn of that is that we start losing the social aspect of business. There's something that's very important about when you're doing marketing and the what I call the touch or the feel. It's not enough to see the fire. You got to be next to the fire to feel it. You want the warmth from it. So that really speaks to corporate culture. So, and right now, a lot of corporations are sending their employees back into the office for that, so that they can feel it. I don't think it's just a matter of we want to keep an eye on you and make sure that you're not taking extended long breaks and have a remote mouse that's operating on its own. A lot of people were making good money figuring out ways to trick the Zoom system and pretend that they're still in office. But I think more importantly, that corporate culture is one of the things that's suffering. And in terms of doing collaborations, there's only so much you can do from a Zoom. I mean, like, as much as I appreciate this, it would have been great to shake a hand today and to really press the flesh. I believe that your social network is your net worth, and there's an old-fashioned way of socialization, but that's on the hybrid side. The other next thing, trend-wise, I would definitely say AI. AI is big up there. I think everyone is dealing with AI. AI doesn't necessarily make you a Gordon Ramsay in terms of being a chef, just because you've got chicken and flour and some seasoning. Everybody's chicken don't taste the same. Everybody's tacos don't come out the same. That's the reason why Oxnard's, one of their brands is the Taco Trail. It's like, I living in Oxnard, I never understood. I said, how are there so many different Mexican restaurants selling Mexican food in Oxnard? And don't you think it's enough? But each one has its own unique taste and seasoning. And that's what happens with AI. AI, after a while, it becomes Pandora's box of solutions and Pandora's boxes of just the possibilities. They say they're kind of comparing AI to the golden triangle, or no, the golden rectangle. And I don't know if you guys know, but it's infinite. And if you guys have ever been using AI, at some point, you just got to stop. And I think it's the trend in doing that is some people just don't know when to stop. And it just becomes, just one way of saying things after the next way of saying things, after the next way of saying things in so many different language and nuances and dialects and this. And really, it's just the experts who understand, okay, that steak is done. It's well done. Like Gordon Ramsay, when he comes in and he tells people, like, okay, you're doing enough. That's what's missing right now, trend-wise, is those people who are those experts who are able to come in as copywriters, especially because most AI is dealing with copywriting. It's very important that you still have people who understand grammar, people who understand language to look at your work and understand when you need to stop and don't overcook your steak. The next thing from me, and I'm speaking most of these things coming from a marketing lens. I operate a brand marketing communications agency called Attain. We're known as being creative heroes, that we save our clients from the ordinary and we take them to the extraordinary. That's my brand pitch and my story. And but the creator economy is a big trend, that now you have a lot of people who are the ability to make their own money, who are influencers and content creators. They really, if you can manage to use some of these people to help your business grow, I think their value is understated. We know there's influencers. There's an influencer who is a YouTube influencer who's fighting Mike Tyson today. You know, that goes to show the power of content creators and influencers. And who would have thought that like someone who was doing YouTube videos on things is going to be fighting Mike Tyson? But again, that just goes to tell you the power of creating stories. So those are the three top trends that I would say.
Wonderful. Anybody have anything to add to that as far as your own experience with AI? Maybe Kristen with the Port of Wainimi.
Well, it was interesting. Well, first, I think I'll be calling you after this meeting. I liked your slogan. So if you're looking for some more marketing weeks, this is what this is all about, right? Networking. So sold me with that. But no, that's great. Yeah, and we're seeing the use of AI starting to emerge. And I've been to a lot of conferences around this and whatnot, and it's you're not going to compete well if you don't capitalize on this, and you just have to learn how to use it right, is what I'm really learning. And I think that's what you want to give guidance to these businesses, just like my peer was saying. I'm seeing staff use it, and I catch it. Right. So a memo will come to me and it's written in such a way that it's saying a lot of things, but it's saying nothing. Right. It's a lot of very
it reminds me when we were in grade school and the teacher could tell that you didn't write this. You didn't do this homework. Somebody else wrote it. Your mama wrote this for you, didn't she?
Yeah, like, exactly. And then it's not hitting the mark.
Right.
So it's just saying a lot of nice words being put out there very eloquently, but it's not capturing what the narrative really needs to say. So I think it's just something that as the intelligence grows and it's only as good as computers are. So so it's not going to capture maybe what's inside the brain until it gets inside the other brain, right? So it's just something that I think we're all watching. It's fascinating. There's a lot of opportunities, and you're also going to have to be aware of the malware that comes with it too. I have to just give a shout out to my young daughter who did her capstone project 5 years ago on deepfakes, and look where we are today with what's happening in that space and how technology can go afoul. So it's just super exciting, but eyes wide open stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big challenges as well, is just talking about like cyber, security and all the cyber threats that are out there that affect all of our industries. For me, it hits me probably once a month that I'm accidentally click on an email that seems like it's from one of my clients. And it's cyber. I mean, if I get one more, it used to be kind of entertaining at one point, where it's like, okay, this guy is pretending to be, an African king who left me $3 million and all I've got to do. But now they're really getting so sophisticated that they're your relatives and they're really analyzing your websites. So they've got all their keywords and they're looking at, where's your friend currently right now? Okay, I have a friend who's Mark. He's traveling to Vegas next week. So then he's seeing that Mark's in Vegas. So why wouldn't Mark, of course Mark would, contact me and tell me something, and then say, oh man, I'm short. I was on the tables and I lost some money. Send me $50 real quick to this Cash App. Oh, I didn't think anything of it. So those type of things that happen.
Right. Yes.
Laura, I'd like to add something if I can.
Yes,
You know,
please.
one of the things that I'm seeing as a lender is a lot of AI generated business plans. And it's really interesting because, you know, a lot of business owners, they think that, or entrepreneurs think that these business plans are very well written, but as Kristen mentioned, they're not very, it says a lot of stuff, but doesn't really get to the heart of it. You know, when it comes to a business plan, especially a startup, it's nice to know about the background, the industry, you know, the demographics and so forth. But the one question I have that AI can't help you with is, how are you going to get your first customer? You know, like I need to know, like, do you have a background in this industry? You know, have you run a business before? Have you worked in this industry before? I'm looking specifically for that information, not all the fluffy stuff about how big this market is and so forth. I need to know you, and I need to know how you're going to be able to get the first client. And AI can't help you with that because that comes from within. You know, it comes from your experience, that comes from your walk in life and your background. So it's really important. You know, you can get some stuff from AI. It's great, but you have to get to the heart of it. You know, think from my perspective, like, why should I lend you money? It's not because there's 50 million people or a billion people on this planet. It's what you bring to the table. You know,
Yeah.
it's your inherent gifts. You know, that's what I'm looking for in a business plan. And if
Yeah,
I don't
and
see it, we're not going to do it.
Good
And
point.
AI is not going to it's not going to show up to your meeting to sell your product. It's not going to show up your meeting to have a meeting or to do your job interview. I mean, you've got people who are using for resume writing and having AI, but then when it comes time to actually sit, which I deal with students all the time, and they on their resume, their vitas, look great. But at the point when they're standing there in front of me, they don't have the same words that I'm reading, and there's a disconnect. And it's the same
Vocabulary could be different.
Vocabulary,
Absolutely.
where you have brands that they're using AI to create their social content and other things, but then that social content doesn't quite match up to what their execution is. And it's like, as my grandmother used to say, something in the water ain't wet. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Seisha, you
Yeah,
have something?
absolutely. Just wanted to chime in on the conversation between
Yes.
Marvin and Kelsey. Completely agree with you guys. I think Chat GPT is everyone's best friend. It's very unfortunate, but you can't put into AI the passion that you have for your business. So it's really important when you're telling your story to a lender or a bank like Mission Bank. We really want to see what you're about. And we want to be able to tell your story as we walk into those rooms looking for lending with those big decision makers. And so it's so important to show up as yourself each and every time. I'm part American Samoan, and so my grandfather has always said to me, it's so important, as you were saying earlier, Laura, that you pronounce people's names properly. My whole name is extremely difficult. But I know when I'm in a room full of people, it's important that I give them the correct pronunciation so that they remember me.
Right.
And what our legacy is.
All great points, all great points. And something to think about really as small business owners, the AI and how you can use it to your benefit and not just a blanket with no emotion, no human element, right? So yes, thank you all. And we are running kind of on the dot here. So if there are any other comments, please make them now. If not, we'll go into some questions if we have them. Anybody else closing comments?
You know what, actually, I do want to add one minor thing. Also,
Okay.
beware of who you listen to on social media. There are a lot of influencers that are out there. It's funny because I'm in the lending space, so I actually run into some of these influencers. They are not who you think you are. They're not as successful as you think they are. So be careful. There's an African proverb that says that if a poor man shows you an area of the forest to cultivate, don't go, don't do it. So you got to know who is trying to direct you where to go, and do they have the wherewithal to do that? They have the background, the experience. A lot of them don't. They're just in it for likes and to get advertisement revenue and so forth. So be aware of who you listen to.
Great advice, Marvin. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our Q&A session. Do we have any questions? Let me see here. If we need some time, let's see here. Do I have the time? Let me check on my time. Do I have more time? Can somebody give me that answer?
I'm imagining the program's a little over because we were supposed to wrap
Yeah.
up at 11:15.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think, yeah, we started late.
Byron on
So
that one, but
we started a little late, so you can have it. Okay.
So you actually have, there was 15 minutes allotted for Q&A up to 11:30. But if there is continuing dialogue, we can break at 11:35. So it's your call, moderator.
11:35 and then Q&A?
No.
No, with Q&A. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about anything else. Now, let me see if since I have more time, Kelsey, I'm gonna ask you another question. With so much competition out there, how can small businesses stay competitive in today's market? I know we talked about different topics already, but maybe something different as far as competition, competitive edge.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm borrowing a phrase from one of my other brand mentors, but he always uses this thing about don't talk about the me too, talk about the me different. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, I work in brand, I work as a designer. They're, you know, they come a dime a dozen, probably even, you know, even more than that. I mean, we're all, there's not too many unique businesses, but there's unique stories. Nobody has my same DNA. You know, no one has my same story. So it's very important that from a brand marketing aspect that I always tell, it's like, you know, with most of my clients, I try to find what is the unique story, what is the unique selling proposition that you're offering to your clients. And as long as you're using that and it's a part of you, then it's authentic. But if you're trying to be somebody that you're not, you know, you're always going to gravitate back to center. You know, I have a good friend. He is a hopeless romantic, and I'm just telling the story. You know, but he likes fast cars. Yeah, let's put it that way. And when he gets to the fast cars, you know, he's not properly situated financially to drive the fast cars, right? And when basically, in the long story short, he gravitates back to center that he's a hopeless romantic and he just wants to be in a relationship and fall in love and be married. And then he finds out that, like, oh, well, that's not for me. So again, if it's not who you are as your brand, don't try to be that. Don't try to be something that you're not, because people are going to see through you and see that you're not being authentic. Your company's not authentic. Your service is not authentic. Your story is not authentic. And you know, that's what I can give.
Do you think that bringing out your passion in what you do makes you authentic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your passion is everything. It's what you, and I always say, what is it about your company or your business or your service that you would do all day, every day, and twice on Sundays? Now, if you're doing it twice on Sunday, now Sunday's supposed to be God's day. So if you're taking time away from your faith to do it, it must be really passionate. So I try to tap into that story and then finding out that one little thing, because it's better to have that one little thing than to have 10 things that I don't know if I would rather do it. You know, we're good at this, but then we also do this and this and this and this. Just give me that one. And that's the one that you're going to sell.
You know, Kelsey, I think that
something there.
Go ahead, Stacey.
Oh, awesome. Sorry to interrupt. I think we've all heard it right in this panel discussion and in the previous roundtable. I think it's a big part is knowing your competition, not being afraid to go to your competitor. And I think Kelsey hit on that earlier, saying there is a ton of Mexican restaurants here in the 805, but something is different in each one, right? There might be a specialty, a different seasoning, but they're showing their authentic self in each of those dishes. And I think that's really where you make the difference, is looking at your competitor, really knowing your brand and what your sweet market is, and then going forward by finding out what doesn't that competition have? How can I better it? What can I give to it to change it? And that really does help a lot of businesses grow and continue to find their passion in many industries.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you
another thing that hasn't come up, but it sort of have, is that you really want to hire well. Super important. We haven't really touched on recruitment, but recruitment is really key to a successful company. You need loyalty, you need trust, you need motivation, driven folks behind you are as good as who you hire. Well, you know, and you're as weak as the weakest link.
Right.
So
That's a good
a
point.
lot to cover there, but it's important.
As an HR consultant, I can tell you, and that resonates with me as far as building your brand. You have to bring in the brand ambassadors that will do justice to your brand. Absolutely. Hire well, and everything else fall into place. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Great conversation, by the way. Love it. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and do any questions if we do have any questions. If you have any questions for the panelists on any of the topics that we talked about, please put them in the chat and we will read them and get some feedback from the panel. Or did we do such a great job that we just answered everything?
That's good.
I think we could take a minute to ask Kristen. I don't know if it resonated, the resource that the port is in our community and the amount of revenue that's generated through your efforts, and how the port does return that money back to the community.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point that in the sense that, yeah, we have over the last decade, our cargo has really done well. So we're upwards of 80% and our revenue has grown around 103%. But what the important note about the port is that we're not in the business of becoming a rich port. We're in the business of creating prosperity and social and economic good for our communities. So the better we do, the more we can contribute. And I think that's really important for small businesses too, to become part of your community and give back. We're in the neighborhood of $367,000 in sponsorships for businesses, not the big ones, and nothing's wrong with the United Ways of the world, but we want to really support the organic groups here, like in Lakesh, by way of example, if you know them, a group of youth that sing mariachi, or Real Guppy, who's putting our local kids out and teaching them the education of our waters and learning to fish and things like that, and really creating social change for the people that that really give back to and allow the port to succeed as well. So I think and it also, when we make green, we can do more green. So we can do more to really create a zero emission port here, so we have better air quality for all the residents around us. So I think it's super important to always be looking at how, once you do trip that success point, how you really engage your community, because you really, in commerce, there's a saying that says you can't have community without commerce, and you can't have commerce without community. And I think that's true for all of us, that, you know, we have to hold hands to move forward and march forward together. And I think I'll put another little, since we're kind of going to some slogans here. I had a director of marketing that used to say, if you throw a bunch of sand up in the air, it just drops. But if you put the sand in a sock, you have a really good weapon, right? So let's collaborate, work together, bring business and community together, and it creates a lot of promise and hope for our county and our community.
Great discussion. Thank you. Thank you, Byron, for that prompt. All right. And who's helping us with questions? Is somebody?
I think we're at
that would be me. Hi. Okay,
Hello.
so let me go in. Let's see. Thank you, Kristen, for sharing the commitment to economic enhancement for our community. Angela Davis talks about the dance between capitalism and economic equity, but I don't think I see any other questions. But I will draw attention to the chat feature down below. For those of you guys who do have any questions, this is the time where we would rise it up for this amazing panel. We will have a Q&A at the end, but this is really the time where we would utilize these individuals that are on the panel to ask any questions we may have.
Wonderful. And if we don't have...
Laura, I think we're at a point where we want to go into our sponsor mall. So
Yep.
I'll take the opportunity of thanking you for your great facilitation of this scaling up session. And also want to thank all the panelists for your great contributions and suggestions on some of the things that businesses should look to as they try to grow and move to the next level. So it's much appreciated.
Thank you.
And now we're going into a technical, all the talk about AI. I want to take an opportunity to give a quick mention for everyone to make sure you're on the line at 1 o'clock to hear the technology panel. And you're going to hear all about how to use AI, cybersecurity, robotics. That's going to be a rich session. So I encourage everyone to text your friends, and that's one you don't want to miss. To participate in our sponsor virtual mall, if you are on a laptop or desktop, look for the breakout icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. It looks like four squares in a square. Click on it and a window will open that reveals our sponsor virtual breakout rooms. You can click on the blue button to join and talk to sponsors about their respective services. If you are on a mobile phone, tap the screen to see the breakout icon appear. It will only appear for 5 seconds each time, and tap it to pull up the breakout room list. So we are fortunate to have some generous sponsors here who have services, many of them free, that we want you to take advantage of, and we want you to support our sponsors. We got CSU Channel Islands that we want to mention their virtual breakout. We have the university as a broad sector, but we also have the Martin V. Smith School of Business and Economics. The Port of Hueneme is one of our gracious sponsors. Operation Hope has a breakout room. Montecito Bank and Trust, and I'm not sure all these partners are here. Teltech Security Systems, I think Morgan is going to man that breakout room, so you'll be talking to the chairman of the board. JSL Technologies, Women's Economic Ventures, Weave, the county of Ventura. I don't think they have personnel available. We've got EDC, the Economic Development Collaborative, and Pacific Coast Business Times, as well as our friends over at Infinity of Oxnard. So please now look for those buttons, and I'm going to sign off for a minute, and please visit our partners. everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had some fruitful discussions and networking with our sponsors. And we appreciate everyone for staying on. How's everyone enjoying the summit so far? And raise your hand or let me know in the chat. I have been totally inspired and getting very, very good feedback. So I hope everyone is going to walk away with some valuable information. We've come to a time in our program where I have a distinct honor to introduce an absolute legend in Ventura County and on the Central Coast. She has a broad background as an educator, a politician, a businesswoman, and I'm really excited to hear what she has to share with us related to this economic development project. It is a distinct pleasure, again, to bring to you on CCMERA's Economic Development Summit, Dr. Irene Pinkert, CEO of Pinkert Institute.
Hello, everyone. This is an honor for me to be here to speak to you today about economic development and a business and how you can improve your business or just start a business. I would like to just start with talking about some practical information based on the things that I have done as a business person. I think sometimes we use things that are in a book, but it's always good to have some information on how someone else has developed their business and made it what it is. First of all, I think when you're thinking about a business, starting a business or in a business, you have to love what you're thinking about doing or love what you're going to be doing and have it just be a part of who you are. And that's how I've always operated with the Pinkert Youth Institute and the Pinkert Innovative Enterprises. Both businesses have been a love of mine, things that I've done just to make sure that things are done that I thought that the community needs. I know that when you're looking to start a business, you want to make sure that it's something that's needed by the community. But sometimes the community may not recognize what it needs, and you can see that and they can't. So sometimes you have to look at what you see as a thing is to make sure you have a good description of what your business is going to be. Could someone, if you can, raise your hand and let me know how many of you already have a business? I don't see anything. Okay, I see 2, 3, okay. So this may be a repeat for some and just information to strengthen what you're already doing. Because I don't think there's ever enough information to help you improve or strengthen your company. As I said, sometimes you take a market analysis of what you're going to do and determine what it is that you're going to offer the customers based on their needs or a target group. And sometimes you're going to notice what is needed by the community of what things you see around you. You want to also know how many people are in the same business you're in, because that way you can compare what it is that you possibly need to do that's different what everybody else is doing. And you want to make sure that you have a caveat that is not the same as everybody else, so that people can come to your business that may not come to somebody else's business. Because people ask themselves, why should I partner with you? Why should I do business with you? What makes you different than another business? And that is very important, that you have something unique that is your own, that different than what someone else does. We're looking for businesses, but we're looking for the business that offers something that isn't just like everybody else is doing. And that's what I've gathered from having worked in the community for over 30 years. Organizational structure is important. I know a lot of people like to play loose in dealing with the business, but that isn't the most productive way to get your business off the ground or have people have relationships with you in a business. They want to know who's in charge, who does what specific function in your business, how the business is run, who is handling the finances, and what kind of financial support you have, especially if you are going to get a loan through PACE or any other particular California First funding for specific kinds of businesses that you want to run. So you want to make sure that you have a good structural background. You also want to know that your product, like I said before, is needed by the community, and it's going to complement the community as well as yourself and those who are in need of your project. Now, when you're giving a service, which is what I am, I'm a service organization, a service business, it's very important that you keep your word, that you do what you say you're going to do, that you produce and provide what you say you're going to provide at the specific time and place that you have said that you're going to do that, and that people will get what you said they are going to get. Because word of mouth will kill your business in terms of you not providing what it is that you say that you're going to offer to specific individuals. Want to have a marketing plan. Now, there are different ways of marketing. You have to decide what is the best marketing plan for your community, where you live. Sometimes it's the social media works best. Sometimes it's dealing with the posters, announcements at various organizations, but it's always good to have a good website for your business. Make sure you update it. That's something that I have to remind myself of daily, periodically, because things change so rapidly, and you want to make sure that your website is up to date, because you'll find that a lot of people will find you on websites. So that the website and Facebook is very important in terms of what you do with your business, and make sure that that information, your organizational structure, is updated as you change things. Make sure that your product or service is timely, that it's relevant, and that it is something that is in the forefront, or something that is coming in the future. You don't want to be dealing with past products when people are buying a new product, or you don't want to provide a service that is no longer up to date with the kind of service that is being provided by someone else. So you're going to always have to research what is going on in your field. I do the HBCU college tours, and I periodically work with other individuals doing HBCU tours in other states to see what they're doing, to see what schools are looking for when they would like to sponsor an HBCU trip for the youngsters at their school. You always have to look for where your funding may come from. It may be individual funding, and it may be school funding, and it may be a grant. I use all three. And that is something that you can probably look into as well. But if you're not dealing with school districts, then that would not be a place that you would go to. But there are a lot of places like Honda, Verizon, Pace, California First, the college system, and others who are funding specific things that I do. So you would have to look up those funding sources for what it is that you're thinking about doing or that you're doing. Before I go on, is anyone have